Hey Acers, I know I don't open my shorts with those anymore, but I'm trying to pack a little more into them. Sometimes I guess I kind of run out of space, and sometimes I don't have enough to fill the space. So we'll just see how that keeps going. However, I do want to welcome you to this week's Ace Role Playing Games Club, and hope that you've had a great week. Hope that you had a lot of fun opportunities to role play and see your friends and to continue to form friendships outside of the game itself. That's part of what this is for. I had a great week. I did a lot of driving, and that's part of the reason why it's kind of later today in my start. But I am grateful to be here, and yeah, it's going to be my normal fidget me, but I'm going to try and keep the yawns out. So we'll see if we can keep track of those. So, first of all, this week, I did want to talk about the fact that there are still a lot of great Kickstarters going on out there. And I'm not sponsored by Pinnacle or anything like that, but they are doing Rifts Europa. And I felt bummed that I couldn't get in on the Northwest Deadlands. But actually, that's what I'm going to be talking about today is kind of a Deadlands seed for these adventure generator things that we've been going through. So I'm just going to, instead of taking the time to roll them, I'm going to just kind of randomly pick how we're going to get involved. So one of my, okay, I gotta see if there's a way I can get a little more shadow on my face because my skin is so pale that it reflects the light. I'm going to see something here. Let me just see if putting that above my camera, no. Right there is almost perfect lighting if I could just, I guess that's why they have those people with the reflectors in movies and stuff. But I'm sorry about the lighting. It is pretty garish. However, I'm going to talk about, hey, that's not bad. Anyway, I'm going to talk about doing this case generator as a seed for a Weird West. Now, before I do go too far, let me pause and go grab my Deadlands one off the shelf back there because it's also got an adventure generator in it. And let's just kind of compare and contrast the two. Okay, so the adventure generator in Deadlands, and here's the current Suede edition, which, yeah, I think this is the one I had to repurchase. Yeah, it was already dinged up and everything like right here, but I left it at the store, and I think they thought it was theirs. But that's okay. I just used my credits and got it again. Anyway, what you're after here is on page 93. And on page 93 is where the adventure generator begins. And I'm going to try and actually show this and cut out this section of the video actually and put it on actual pictures of my computer screen so you can actually see these. But these have results that are determined by, okay, so first of all, you draw for the objective. And the objective gives us, first of all, like if it's, it gives us based on the suit of the card what kind of a beginning it is or what kind of a reasoning for this. So the card suit determines how the heroes get drawn into the adventure. So that is our hook, if you will. And the card's value determines what the objective of the adventure is. So it could be unexpected beginning, work for hire, character motivation, or old friend or enemy. And that's something, yes, I think that is missing from the Deadlands Noir one that I tout as probably still, and I still would say it is the best adventure generator that I've come across. But there is room for even though we're randomly rolling it, there's room for a seventh one at least. And that is that, actually, I would add a seventh and an eighth one in there. The seventh is character motivation. So one of the characters You as the game master pick that character, and then you create their motivation for the hook for them to get involved. And I would say the eighth one would be unfinished business. So maybe your heroes solved a crime, but you can add some more crime to it. Now, that I will put that out there as and I'm going to flag 5 minutes and 30 seconds here. I am actually going to hold up the pink sheet here to see if I can remind myself 5:37. Anyway, what I do think with unfinished business or things like that, or pulling heroes back into the adventure, there is a danger there. And I'll give you that danger from a film example. One of my favorite movies is The Bourne Identity. And it's more or less the same plot as and loosely based on the novel by Robert Ludlum. Great novel. But there's some elements that have been changed and tweaked, and they modernized it and stuff, because in Bourne Identity, the character, spoiler alert for something that's well over 30 years old, the main character was with the State Department during the Vietnam War. And so he speaks French, he speaks German, he speaks Russian, he was a deep undercover operative. And the thing is that the story is just absolutely excellent and amazing. But they tried to modernize it to a little more modern and make it a little less clear as to when or what kind of action this hero does, and maybe even this hero might have been some sort of a bad hero or a bad person at some point. That his reason for volunteering was because he was the one that was looking for this Mombasi guy and all this kind of stuff. And maybe I should just spend some time trying to figure out what's going on with that. The problem with taking a story that's already done and getting the characters going with it again is like in The Bourne Identity, where the story ends with Jason Bourne threatening the CIA and everybody with, look, you even come within 100 yards of me, and I will see you. I will know you're there, and I will just destroy you. And kind of he's out. There's an actual out. And then at the beginning of Bourne Supremacy, the second movie in the series, they kill Marie. They pull a full-on refrigerator moment and they kill Marie. And that is just not cool. So we're going to definitely want to make sure that if we use character motivation or unfinished business to start as the hook, then we are going to be going for something that's legitimate. Now, this could be that arch villain. That could be the person who you thought you killed them, but you never saw the body. Or their minion got in the way and they rode off in a quick flying gyrocopter or something saying, "I'll get you next time." There's a lot of fun to be had with a nemesis. And that's also something that I think the case generator for Deadlands Noir is missing, is a nemesis. Somebody who's actually doing this to get under your skin. And they're the perpetrator because they want to actually try and ruin you for some reason. That's really cool. That's good adventure story stuff. And nemesis is always going to be something that should be in one of these lists. So let's just take, I will give an example of a Sherlock Holmes story that I just listened to on audiobook, and it was a really cool one. It was one where Sherlock was dying. He's just got pallid complexion. He's sunken in, hasn't eaten for 3 days. He's got waxy lips. He looks like he's just absolutely dying. Watson comes to visit him on Mrs. Hudson's request, and she's in sobbing and tears, and he won't let Watson come anywhere near the bed because he's got this strange disease that was contracted by being down among some Asian ship workers, and he's dying. And he sends Watson to go find this former plantation owner who lived in Africa and had cured this disease that he has, because he was the only person who could do research into it. And it was, and Holmes and he had an interaction, and it failed, and he had failed to save the life of this guy's nephew. Well, Watson gets down there and under the understanding that Holmes is dying. Watson gets down there and convinces the guy Smith to go see Holmes, and then gets back before Smith gets there, and Holmes has him hide and just kind of contort underneath the head of his bed. And Watson's recording it down as he's listening, and the guy comes in and sees that Holmes had opened his package, and that there was a hidden spring in there, and it had injected a needle into Holmes's hand. And that's actually where he got the disease from, because the needle had the disease on it, and it's a disease that's killing him quickly. He's delirious. He's dying. And then he gloats over Holmes, saying, "Sorry, I can't do anything for you because you didn't do anything for my nephew, but that's because I gave him the disease in the first place, and now you're going to die along with him. And I'm the only person who knows this disease." And suddenly, that's when Lestrade comes in and arrests him, and he's like, "It's my word against his, because I'm a respected person." And it turns out, exactly as Holmes planned it, Holmes had actually not touched the spring. He had ferreted it out before it happened, and Holmes was using makeup and beeswax, and was incredibly hungry now, and was actually ready to go down and get some food with Watson. And Watson was the second witness to the statement of the mad Smith. But there's a lot of good mystery build up in there, and stuff that you could definitely use. Mind you, none of your characters should be Sherlock Holmes, because Sherlock Holmes has one major reason why he succeeds. It's just the same way that James Cameron explained to the Mythbusters why, even though Jack and Rose could have survived on that door, Jack didn't survive on the door. That's because the plot said so. And since the plot said so, that's what we have. We just have a plot that says so. So let's take a look at a couple of there's two different ways. Let's take a look at, because this one doesn't actually have the old friend or enemy. An old acquaintance seeks out the cowpoke, but not always with his best interests at heart. So let's say a spade was drawn, and it is the Jack of Spades, book learning. The group must either gather important data from a location or protect a bunch of eggheads while they do. And then the obstacle. Let's say we're going to draw hearts, and that's pestilence. Disease or health issues, like Ghost Rock Fever, come into play. So that actually fits for a bunch of scientists. And we'll just say, let's say King of Hearts. So this is big trouble. A major threat stands in the posse's way, like a hanging judge, or Los Diablos, or a U.S. Army detachment. So that's actually how they end up starting this whole thing. And that's their obstacle. And the complication could be, let's go clubs for a tough. These aren't really twists or turns to complications, but it's a tough one. Any skill rolls made to overcome it face a -2 penalty, as things they just seem to be constantly tougher than they should be. And it's going to be Red Joker, Black Hats. Turns out the hero's opponents aren't actually the good guys. Are actually the good guys. And what they do once they realize this is up to them. So that could be a setup for a good story, for a good adventure. But let's try and do that again. Let's try and plant that seed again, a similar seed, with the case generator from Noir because like I said, I like the setup. So let's go ahead and use the idea of it being an existing contact. So I guess that's where you could put Nemesis in there as an existing contact. But let's make this. I was talking about a Nemesis. Let's make it a Nemesis. This is kind of like Treadstone and the Cox character from the CIA, the director of the CIA that actually is the one that kind of is after Jason Bourne in the second and third movies, but we don't have to refrigerate in order to, or Marie, they called her Marie, that's right. They don't have to refrigerate Marie in order to get Jason back into the action kind of thing. So let's go for the existing contact. Let's say it's an attorney whose client they worked for, but they might not remember that the client didn't get off. So they might have to do a little bit of research at the outset through their case files to remember who this attorney is. But the attorney comes in and he says that there has been that there is a fraud going on, some sort of a fraud for another client that they represent. And maybe this client is the sibling of the person that the detectives, instead of getting that person off, they actually proved that person was the bad guy or something like that. You're the game master, make it up. And so we've already got our perpetrator. And that is going to actually be that the person that you're after is, and they're doing it for knowledge. We'll go with the knowledge one. And we will say that this has, and again, that misses the clues. What kind of clues are you going to include? Now, to a degree, I kind of like not having necessarily determined clues, in the sense that I like having an opportunity for there to be physical, testimonial, and documentary evidence, and a glut of it, but not an overabundance of it. Now that's a different kind of mystery. That's a complete different kind of mystery when you have a framing going on and your heroes have been framed, or the person that they're doing the investigation for has been framed, and those people, and they suddenly a glut of evidence shows up against them to the proper authorities. So this person is going to get arrested, but as they're getting arrested or taken away, or even calling them from jail saying, I was set up. I did nothing wrong here, but all the evidence points to me. Think of, I'll give you an example. And if you're a teenager, I don't recommend you watch this, but there's a movie called Shooter. And I don't recommend you watch it because it's rated R. And if you're one of my teens, unless your parents are cool with you watching things at 17 years old to 18 years old, stay away from the R-rated movies. That's why there's an age limit on attending them. And if you want to watch one, talk to your parents or talk to your trusted adult guardian or adult in your life, because just jumping into them, sometimes there's things there that you don't want to really be exposed to at this age. So with that caveat, in Shooter, the Mark Wahlberg sniper character, Donnie Ray, I think is his name, or what? I can't remember the character's name, but anyway, there's a whole bunch of books about him actually, but he gets brought in to analyze how somebody might assassinate the president. They're really after the African president who's getting the award from the president, and they give a list of tour dates, and they know that this former KGB sniper is after this. They think he's after the president, and they use the deeper organization within this government organization. They use the Donnie character to go to all four of these sites and be filmed there by the cameras. And then suddenly on the day that he shows up in Philadelphia, there's flags all over the place which give the sniper windage. And there's all these other things that basically make it so the sniper makes a mile out shot with a huge rifle that's like digitally controlled, and he makes the shot and he kills that African president who's standing right next to the president getting an award. And so now everybody thinks it was an attempted assassination of the president, and they're looking around and they go straight to the place where, and as the moment it happens, a corrupt cop turns and shoots Mark Wahlberg, dropping him and leaving him to take the fall. But he stands up and he jumps out the window bleeding, and he still gets away, and he takes down an FBI agent in the process, steals his car, and through hijinks and misadventures he gets away. Well, he finally is able to extract the bullet, get himself patched up, healed up, and works with a lady to help set things up so that he can finally get things taken care of. But the FBI, they get all of this evidence within hours of the attempted assassination. They get shooting targets. They get the round, or they get a spent shell casing, which suddenly amazingly matches the round when they pull it out of the African guy. And there's all these other things that say that Donnie was the sniper, and that Donnie shot him from this window, and that this Sergeant Timmons, who actually shot Donnie, was a hero and had tried to take out the attempted presidential assassin. And there's a nationwide manhunt going on for him from the FBI. And that's a good setup to a story. But like I said, too much evidence means that the bad guys are forcing those who should be good guys they're forcing them to look the wrong direction. It's a distraction. So finally, let's look at our twist. Let's say this is a like I said, we've got a hidden motive already. And the hidden motive is actually a bait and switch. It's one that I've talked about already, but it's where the client's pointing the one group at one incident, hoping to draw them into another. In this case, the lawyer is pointing them towards helping this client when actually this client wants to get revenge on them. So we've got us a good mystery set up here. And I'm actually hoping that we can run this down to the ground. And the thing is that this can happen in any genre. So how do we do this in the Weird West? We would have a lawyer. Our cowboys are in their hotel or saloon or wherever, and he comes in and he's like, "Hey, you guys are the cowboys that helped out, that helped with the Clarence case, right?" And they could be like, "Yeah, Clarence, he was actually guilty. We had to turn him over to authorities." And he says, "Well, I got this client who is being harassed, and he's needing help that you guys, because you guys actually brought truth and justice in. So can you help bring truth and justice for another person?" And so, appealing to their better natures, the attorney is actually going to hook them in, and so he's doing this so that he can. Actually, let's not say knowledge. This is a revenge. This is full-on revenge. And so he's doing this so that Clarence's brother can get revenge on him. And Clarence's brother is going to have a false identity. So so it's not so much the clues themselves that are pointing to the mysteries. It's actually the pieces of the mystery that the characters will need to unravel in order to get the answers that the clues need to point to. So there needs to be a way for them to find out about the false identity of Clarence's brother, who wants revenge on them. There needs to be somebody who's seeing Clarence's brother behaving in a way that isn't quite right. There needs to be, like in The Fugitive, when they go into the house that he was renting from, like, the Russian people, and they go down into the basement after he's shown up at Cook County Hospital to try and, because he's looking for the clues of, okay, I know that this guy is missing his arm, the one-armed man. So I'm going to go look up at Cook County Hospital, I know how to get into the computers, and I know how to look up people who have this kind of a mid-humerus prosthetic arm. And that's how he's able to get a list of 5 people who have the missing arm, whereas the U.S. Marshals, when they actually go through it, they get like 12 people. But he's calling them individually and eliminating them by death and things like that. Whereas the FBI or the U.S. Marshals, they're able to match these against criminal backgrounds, and they both get to the wrong answer together at the same time. And that's how the excitement at the prison there or at the jail, that's how that excitement happens, and they end up chasing him out of the room, or out of the building, and he barely gets away after Tommy Lee Jones shot at the window on both sides of his foot. But he is able to pull it out, and the auto closed doors were closed, and it was March 14th, so he was able to march off into the St. Patrick's Day Parade. But that was documentary evidence that both of them got. And the physical evidence that the U.S. Marshals find at his house, or at his apartment that he was renting, the basement apartment, is contact paper and pictures that he took in a photo booth, and razor blades, and the same kind of lettering, and there's the card that he peels the thing off, and he sees that it's for a Latino cleaner. So there's like all sorts of little things that point to the fact that he's been making his ID. He's been doing a false ID. And so that false ID is physical evidence. The evidence of him making the false ID is physical evidence. So these are ways that you can give evidence to your player characters. And like I said, every major location along the way should have at least 3 clues pointing to the next one. So that's really the way I would recommend you go about it. I hope this has been informative. I hope this has been wonderful, because I had a good time. And I just want to remind you, if no one has told you this week, I love you. You're amazing, and you can just be you. Figure out your life the way it stands right now, because right now your life is doing silly things and going to school and playing with your friends and maybe playing Ace role-playing games with your friends. Ha! But whatever it is, live your life and don't worry about what anybody says you should be or you should do. You've got a lot of life ahead of you. And sticking around in this life is worth it. It's been worth it to me. Have I gone through hard times? Yeah. Have I gone through hard times as a grown-up? Oh yeah, I'm in one right now. 7 months of looking for a job. So, hey, if you have a friend or a family member out there who's looking for a top-notch project manager and they really could use my services, I've worked in IT, but I could work construction. It doesn't matter. I'm certified. So, and you guys all know that I'm already certifiable. Wah! But I'm hoping that you do decide to stick around, because you have good friends who love you and will support you through your hard times. Otherwise, until next time, this is Mason Emerson for Ace Role Playing Games saying, I hope to see you at my table. Talk to you soon.